the suspension is getting reduced, and some might even say like the 1-year suspension wasn't enough. And so when you find out that A, it got reduced to essentially like a half suspension, and B, he's your mandatory, what is your reaction?
I'll be honest with you, Ariel. I think it's a joke. I think it's a joke. I think what the WBO have done here is a disgraceful, disgraceful to the sport of boxing as well. What you're essentially doing, or what they're essentially doing, is rewarding someone who's been popped. So to me, it doesn't make sense. And on top of all of that, not just rewarding him for being popped, but while he's banned, while he's still serving a ban. So it does not make sense someone who's been popped. So to me, it doesn't make sense. And on top of all of that, not just rewarding him for being popped, but while he's banned, while he's still serving a ban. So it does not make sense. I like to think of myself as someone who's come up through the ranks and honoured and respected the clean sport program, respected the fact that through hard work, through the ups and the downs, I've got there. I've got there as a champion, and now that I'm here, I'd have a kind of no, I wouldn't say I'd have a more kind of smooth and more simple ride in terms of fulfilling the mandatories in who I thought would be Jacob Bank for my last fight. And I just think it's bad for the sport of boxing, you know, giving these guys the platforms and almost saying, yeah, don't worry, it's okay, we'll just crack on as normal. You know, eventually become world champions. And what message does this give out? Do you know what I mean? What message does this give out? It's not a good one for sure.
When you say corruption, what do you mean by that?
Exactly this, in terms of what the WBO have done here. It's, to me, it's corrupt, and I'll say it as it is. You know what I mean? I'll say it as it is.
Dana White, who's obviously the face of Zufa Boxing, is like, we don't want to work with these sanctioning bodies anymore. We don't want to deal with the WBC, WBO, IBF.
See, look, it's perfect you said that, because the WBO doing what they've done with me just goes to prove their point.
Wow, 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 ladies and gentlemen. Y'all just heard Hamzah Sheeraz, right? Y'all just heard this man on the Ariel Helwani podcast. Shout out to Ariel Helwani. Make sure you guys follow and subscribe. All video credit goes to them. Hamzah Sheeraz went on with thousands of people watching and absolutely went off on the WBO. The man has a problem with what the WBO has done, ladies and gentlemen. Giving Janibek Hanella, the former IBF, WBO middleweight champion of the world, who failed a drug test leading up to his December fight with Erislandy Lara, failed a drug test for Maldonium. Took some medicine that had Maldonium in that medicine. The WBO president, Mr. Gustavo Olivetti, came out and said that he has met all the obligations. We suspended him for a year. He's met all the obligations that we asked for. He's been proving to us a first-time offender, which they like to use a lot. They like to say that a lot. That he's proved his case with evidence that the medicine that was given to him was due to a hospital visit. Medicine that he claims he wasn't taking for an advantage in the ring, but medicine to be able to recover from an injury. Inside that medicine, it had Maldonium, ladies and gentlemen. So Janibek, he gets suspended. Got stripped of his IBF title. Now, he got stripped of his IBF title because he wasn't able to make the mandatory obligation, but still got stripped of his IBF title and was allowed to hold on to his WBO title. This man who fails this drug test petitions to the WBO, because he's the WBO middleweight champion, to get an automatic title shot one division ahead at the super middleweight division, to get an automatic title shot mandated against Hamzah Sheeraz. Now, I understand the blasphemy. I understand the corruption. I understand the pushback. Everything that Hamzah Sheeraz is saying is true, ladies and gentlemen. I completely agree. absolutely horrible move by the WBO that absolutely makes him look bad. Ladies and gentlemen, Hamzah Sheeraz goes absolutely off on them and even brings up Zufa Boxing. Says he's open. He has one fight left with Queensberry, who, y'all know the relationship that Queensberry and Turki Al-Sheikh had in the past 2 years. Hamzah Sheeraz, a Turkey fighter. This man says he's open to exploring his next options in a new promotional company and says he's even down to explore Zufa Boxing. He uses this as an example on why the sanctioning body, specifically the WBO, he does not like them, he does not respect them, uses them as an example when talking about Zufa Boxing and the benefits that come from them. It sounds like Hamzah Sheeraz is going to go to Zuffa, ladies and gentlemen. Is that surprising? No. We know the relationship that Hamzah Sheeraz and Turkey has had. Turkey owns 60% of Zufa Boxing and the Ring magazine. I wouldn't be surprised if Hamzah Sheeraz goes to Zufa Boxing, ladies and gentlemen. But although I do have a problem with the WBO doing this, let's be real. There's something else that I got a problem with. And I think this matters too. I don't like the fact that they did this. I wish they did it with a different fighter. I don't like the timing of this with Janibek Hanala. But one thing I'll tell you is Hamzah Sheeraz is being forced into a fight, a dangerous fight that he knows he could possibly lose in. Now, he's being forced into this fight when the dude had plans on fighting guys like Jacob Ping. When the dude just came off a win against Simon Seckenhuber. When the dude just won a bout against who? Aleem Bejic. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling y'all right now, if the WBO don't do this, all Hamzah Sheeraz is doing in the 168-pound division is not fighting high-rated contenders. Is not unifying or has plans on unifying with other world champions. He was happy with beating Aleem Bejic for the title. He was happy facing Simon Seckenhuber as a voluntary defense. And now, like y'all heard, the man was planning on having an easier fight with Jacob Ping. And he's pissed off now that the WBO did this, which I could completely agree with. But he's mad at the fact that now he has to face a tough opponent. Now he has to face somebody that he actually might lose to, rather than facing and cherry-picking fighters that we have absolutely no interest in watching. So I do think it's wrong what the WBO did, but I'm not mad at the fact that it's Janibek Manila. It sucks that the timing and everything, how this looks, I understand. But I don't want a champion in this 168-pound division to plan on fighting a bunch of buckets, never testing himself, nor unifying the titles, all because he doesn't want to. Ladies and gentlemen, y'all need to see what type of person Hamzah Sheeraz is. Y'all need to see what type of fighter and what type of fighters he's willing to take on. Hamzah Sheeraz beat Aleem Bejic and then fights Simon Seckenhuber and is talking about going into a fight with Jacob Ping, where he thought was going to be his mandatory. And what are you going to do after that? For your voluntary defense, pick another nobody? Ladies and gentlemen, I definitely don't agree with the corruption. I definitely don't agree with the move that the WBO has did. But I'm also not agreeing with the decisions that Hamzah Sheeraz wants to do with his title. The reign, the campaign that he wants to have at 168 pounds. It's uninteresting. I see no eagerness to chase unification fights. I see no eagerness to fight the highest contenders that he can fight. The dude is happy and consent with fighting guys like Simon Seckenhuber and Jacob Ping, Aleem Bejic. Ladies and gentlemen, I completely agree with all of y'all when it comes to the WBO. It was wrong. And Hamzah Sheeraz, it sucks. But the man wanted easy fights. He's mad at the WBO for pulling this decision. It's wrong for boxing. It makes boxing look bad, don't get me wrong. But he's also mad because it's a highly rated fighter, a good fighter. Imagine this is a bucket. Yes, he'll still be mad, but the dude will walk in there happily. Hamzah Sheeraz has a tough fight in front of him. And it's like a slap in the face. Boom, because he failed for a drug test, we understand. But Hamza ain't ready for this, bruh. He ain't ready to put his title on the line in this fashion. So I hear Hamzah Sheeraz talk in this interview and explain, I'm a fighter. I'll fight anybody. But if my team and my people around me decide that this ain't the fight that we're going to go into, I've got to agree as a whole with my team. So something tells me, with Hamzah Sheeraz having one fight left on his Queensberry contract, who knows if they're actually going to go through with this fight with Janibek, ladies and gentlemen. Who knows what's the next step for Hamzah Sheeraz? I think it'll be respectable if Hamzah Sheeraz goes in there and faces this man, even following everything that Janibek has done. But his team, people around him might be thinking, hell nah. Hell nah, we're not risking this. If we're going to go sign to Zufa Boxing, we don't want to go to Zuffa with the loss on our record, especially when it comes to negotiating a deal to go to Zuffa. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's very important on what Hamzah Sheeraz is going to do next. One thing I know is he's pissed off at the WBO. He's pissed off in this whole situation. And now he's being forced into fighting Janibek Halim Hanala. I want y'all to let me know in the comments what you guys think of this. Like I said, I agree with the WBO. I agree with Hamzah Sheeraz on his take towards the WBO. But how long was you finna just keep on fighting buckets for? How long were you just gonna keep on doing this instead of having plans on unifying? Instead of having plans on fighting a real contender? My goodness, ladies and gentlemen. I want y'all to let me know in the comments what you guys think of this. I'm out.